So now we get to estimating bad debts. So the last time we set up the allowance method, now we need to know how do we figure out, what the bad debts are. I am not covering the percentage of sales method. We'll just be doing the percentage of receivables method and a variation of that, which is the aging of receivables. So let's look at the percentage of receivables, and I'm just going to be using the example that I have in the notes here. If I can find them. Okay. All right, so this company estimates that 1% of its accounts receivable will be uncollectible. So accounts receivable are 420,000. Okay, so this is the accounts receivable for this company. It's estimated that 1% of those will be uncollectible. So doing the math, it comes out at 4,200, and that would be sort of the estimated uncollectible amount. Now, we have to, with the percentage of receivables method, it's really a two-step process to figure out the journal entry for this. How much our bad debt expense is going to depend on the current balance in the allowance account. So let's just as you remember from doing the allowance method, we need to have a journal entry, bad debt expense. This is to set up the allowance account and allowance for doubtful accounts. And so we're trying to figure out how much that amount should be. So if the estimated uncollectible is 4,200, I'm going to just take a little side trip here to the balance sheet, okay? So on the balance sheet, you've got accounts receivable, and that, as I may have mentioned before, is reported less the allowance for doubtful accounts, and that gives you the net receivables. So what we want to end up with in this problem is 420,000 accounts receivable less 4,200 allowance for doubtful accounts would give you the net realizable value of the accounts receivable. Okay, and so the question is, what amount does it take to get there? And that depends on what was in the allowance. In the problem, I've got the current balance here is 1,500. This is the allowance for doubtful accounts. We want it to have a balance of 4,200. So how do we get there? So if we want to end up with 4,200, we want to end up with that as the total, what number does it take to get to that amount? That is the question. Okay. And I believe it comes out to $2,700. Okay. So in my classes, when I'm in the classroom, I really am not good at doing math standing up at the blackboard. I work as an accountant. I've done that for years, but standing up doing numbers, not so much. So my students are always catching me going, "Oh no, that's not the number," and I go, "Oh, okay." Obviously, if that happens on a video, you can't just go, hey, stop that, that's not right. Email me, I'll fix it, okay? All right. So 2,700 is the number we're looking for here, because 15 plus 27 would give us the 42, and so that is the amount of the journal entry. So the journal entry is not the amount of that you want to end up with for the allowance. It's not the amount you want to end up with for bad debt expense. It's where you want to get to that ending balance in the allowance account. And bad debt expense kind of will be whatever it takes to get you there. All right, so let's look at this again and say instead of a balance of 1,500 in here, we had a debit balance of 800. Okay, so now the question still is, what does it take to get to this ending balance? And in this case, you'd go 5,000 minus 800 would give you 4,200. So our journal entry in that case would be bad debt expense 5,000 and allowance for doubtful accounts 5,000. Because your goal is to end up with this 4,200 ending balance in the allowance account. Okay. I think working through problems on this, it will actually start to make sense. Okay, but you have to work through a few of them.